This video was inspired by some of the comments generated around my recent return to the topic of Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, and plagiarism, wherein I would get asked, what about Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You from Led Zeppelin 1? To this day, many still claim that Jimmy Page stole this from Joan Baez. Others say he stole it from Anne Bredon. But the answer is more complicated than that because I don't think he stole it at all. At least not intentionally. In addition, all of this got me thinking about the allegation that Jimmy Page also stole the song Black Mountainside as well. And quite frankly, the answer to that one is even more complicated and more weird. For this reason, I decided that each song required its own separate video. So join me now for part 1, and let's discuss Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. In 1969, Led Zeppelin released their first self-titled debut album. Track 1 was the explosive rocker that quickly established the band as a hard rock group to be reckoned with. Good times, bad times. Track 2, however, was a dark, moody, evocative acoustic piece that was no less explosive as the song that preceded it, as it also embraced the heavy rock of Good Times, Bad Times. The difference, however, was that it also embraced a slow build-up to that explosion, combining both acoustic and classical textures along the way. The song was a cover, titled Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Side note, of the two songs, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is my favorite. In fact, it's my favorite off the entire album. Upon its original release, the songwriting credits for Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You were credited on the album as traditional, arranged by Jimmy Page. The credit of traditional refers to a traditional folk song that is in the public domain and oftentimes is used to indicate that the name of the original songwriter may not even be known or has passed through so many hands that it's now impossible to pinpoint who originally wrote it. The use of this credit on Led Zeppelin 1 would indicate that Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You was a public domain song that has more than likely been passed down from generation to generation, and that more than likely, the name of the original author has been lost to time. So by doing this, Jimmy Page is only taking credit for his arrangement. However, decades later, when the internet discovered a previous version of the song recorded and released by Joan Baez back in 1962, 7 years prior to Led Zeppelin 1, many pointed to it as an example of Jimmy Page committing plagiarism.
I'm gonna leave you.
But I don't believe Jimmy Page stole this song, at least not intentionally. Reportedly, Joan Baez never heard the original version and learned it from another folk musician, Janet Smith.
Babe, I'm gonna leave you. Tell you when I'm gonna leave you. Leave you when the summer comes. Summer comes a-rolling. Summer comes along.
Now, whether or not Joan Baez was aware of who originally wrote it is not known to me, and I couldn't find any information regarding this. But I am going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that more than likely, her record label considered the song to be in the public domain. I would conjecture that Jimmy Page took it on faith that the song was a public domain song and that the name of the original author was unknown because that's what he saw on the Joan Baez album version. Don't forget, all of this was taking place in a pre-internet world, a world where sometimes the liner notes of an album would be all you had to navigate the world with. However, it would turn out that both were mistaken. The song turned out to be written by a folk singer named Anne Bredon.
Babe, I'm gonna leave you. Tell you when I'm gonna leave you. When that old summer comes.
Anne Bredon was born Anne Loeb in 1930. And she wrote her version of the song while she was a student at the University of California, Berkeley in the late 1950s. In 1960, while still attending the university, she appeared on a live folk music radio show, The Midnight Special, on radio station KPFA, where she performed the song publicly and perhaps for the first time. She was alive when both versions by Joan Baez and Led Zeppelin were released, but was for decades completely unaware of either one's existence. Now, this is where a large chorus of the internet shouts at me and says, how could she not know this? I mean, I can imagine not knowing about the Joan Baez version. After all, it never charted. But how could someone not know about the mighty Led Zeppelin? How could she have not heard their version? After all, it was all over FM rock radio back in the day, and now it's a classic rock staple. But it's really not that hard to believe, because believe it or not, there are people who don't pay attention to the exact same popular culture as you and I. Example, I used to work with a young woman who only listened to Latin music. So one day when I brought up Led Zeppelin to her, she asked me, is that a band or a singer? One of my older sisters, whom I've done a couple of videos with on this channel, is extremely well read in regards to literature, but she has pretty much no interest in popular music and prefers to listen to medieval music instead. Normally, I never discuss my videos with her since the topics have no meaning for her. But since she is very interested in children's literature and nursery rhymes, I did consult with her on my recent video that finds connections between the music of the Beatles and children's songs. While discussing this, I brought up the song Octopus Garden written by Ringo Starr, when she stopped me and asked, that's a Beatles song? To my surprise, she was actually aware of the song, but she had no idea that it was originally recorded by the Beatles. And that's okay. We all come from different life experiences. So it isn't that hard for me to imagine that Anne Bredon could have spent decades being completely unaware that Led Zeppelin had covered her song. Now, Anne Bredon did become aware of Led Zeppelin's version of the song in 1980. The exact details of how or what legal paths she took is unknown to me. But in the early 90s, all future releases of the album would now include her name in the songwriting credits. She also received a substantial back payment of royalties. Now, the lawsuit over Stairway to Heaven sparked a lot of online allegations from the internet against Jimmy Page for plagiarizing songs. Some of them, in my opinion, had various levels of legitimacy. Some of them, in my opinion, had no legitimacy, and I would have described these as being stretches. But Babe, I'm going to Leave You is what I would refer to as misdirected by those doing the accusing, with some of the accusations coming from individuals who only knew half the story and claiming that Page stole the song from Joan Baez. It was just a case of unintentional plagiarism based on the information that was available. Several years ago, I posted a track-by-track analysis of Led Zeppelin 1, and in that video, I described Led Zeppelin's version of Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You as a defining track for the band. Its mixture of light and shadow, acoustic and electric, traditional folk and heavy rock would foreshadow everything that Led Zeppelin would be known for throughout most of their career. That wraps up part 1. Join me for part 2 when I discuss Black Mountainside. As always, if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. A big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Patreon supporters do receive exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel. If you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJR the original. And if you can't, you can also leave a one-time super thanks. Also, you can just simply click like. Clicking like is free and it helps this channel a lot. And very soon you should be seeing some links for other videos that might interest you, if you're not seeing it already. Everybody, thank you for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.